Welcome to this short demonstration video showing you some of the many features built into Qur'an Tools, the world's most powerful and free software for critically studying the Arabic text of the Qur'an. Now let's begin by looking up a passage. So let's just tell Qur'an Tools we want to look up the first 20 verses of Surah 2. And you can immediately see here on the screen we have the Arabic text, we have a transliteration, and we have an English translation of this passage. Incidentally, there are several translations built into Qur'an Tools, and we can just change those very easily. And actually in the preferences screen you can tell the Qur'an Tools what your default translation should be. Now if you want a bit more information about any particular word of the Qur'an, you can see here, simply point to it and you get up this little pop-up instant details box that shows you far more detail about this particular word, along with lots of passing information, what type of word it is, its gender, case, number, root, and so on and so forth, and we'll show you some more things you can do with that box in a short while. You can also change the mode that you're reading the Qur'an in. Right now you've got this lovely 3-column view which we call reader mode. You can also turn Qur'an Tools into linear mode, which just shows you each word in its own little box along with some basic information about it, or pass mode that shows you every piece of linguistic data for every word there on the screen. Now if we just come back to the Qur'an Tools home screen, but now I've looked up that passage, it will appear in my history, so very useful that you can easily scroll back through everything you've done over the past short while in the software, and just if you want to go back and revisit something. So I looked up Surah 2 verse 34 earlier, so I can easily get back into there very quickly. But then the other thing you can do, if there's a passage of the Qur'an you're working with very often, let's suppose that I'm quite often working with the first 40 verses of Surah 3, I can bookmark it. So I click the bookmark button here, and I can call it my new bookmark, like this, and I can create that bookmark. And now back on the home screen, you'll see in my bookmarks list, you can see my new bookmark here. Or if I want to do it the long way, I can just type the words "my new bookmark" into the search box there, and voila, I'm back to those verses. So bookmarks are something that are often actually overlooked by people when they first start playing around with Qur'an Tools. Do check it out; it can save a huge amount of time. Well, let's just come back to Surah 2 for a moment. We can look things up off the home screen of Qur'an Tools, but you can also always click this little search button up here in the toolbar and type in what you want. So let's just pull up Surah 2 in its entirety here for a moment, just wait while the internet does its thing. And let's now show you how, if we pull up that instant details box, here's the second word of the second verse of Surah 2. And suppose I want to find everywhere else where that root, kataba, occurs in the Qur'an. That's quite useful. Now, if you're doing it with a paper-based concordance, that would take you quite a while to do, but all you have to do in Qur'an Tools is down here where it says search. I click on the root search, and voila, there we are. In about the time it took that web page to load, you can see I have found the 319 occurrences in 279 verses where that root occurs there in the Qur'an. Now you can do far more advanced searches like that, and you don't need to just do my clicking. As you learn the search language built into Qur'an Tools, and to discover things like that, if you go up to the help menu and choose getting started, incidentally, you'll see all kinds of things about how you can use Qur'an Tools, and one of the most useful things I'd recommend is the article on performing a basic search, and also the article on performing an advanced search. That will teach you the quite straightforward search language we built into Qur'an Tools. But come back to the home page for a moment. Let's suppose we want to look for everywhere where two particular words, root words, appear in the Qur'an. We want to look where the root word kataba and where the root word rayaba occur, like this. Let's just search for those. And now you can see Qur'an Tools has found the 10 verses where those and 29 hits we can see at the top. That means there are 29 places that are highlighted verses where those two words occur together. Now, obviously, I'm at this minute searching using transliteration. I'm using the English letters, Latin letters, for rather than the Arabic itself. But you can actually, if your Arabic is good enough, and you prefer working in Arabic, you can work in Arabic. So let's show you how I'd search for an Arabic root. If I type root here, and if you've got an Arabic keyboard, just type it in. I haven't, I'm using an English keyboard on my Mac, but what I can do, I can pop open the little keyboards button here, and look, down here I have an Arabic keyboard. So let's search for ka, wa, and la, and just find it over here, and that should give me, yeah, lo and behold, there we are, 1,722 hits in 1,383 verses. Very popular root there in the Quran. Now, as well as search using Arabic or search using English transliteration, and by the way, you can mix those if you want to in the same search, you can also search the English translations of the Quran. So let's imagine we want to find everywhere where the English word guidance occurs in the Quran, and one of the translations. We just click the search button, and so there we go, 400 hits, and you can see in this case it's searched every single translation of the Quran, because I just told it to search the English translations. What I can actually do, if I come back here to the front page Quran tools, let's suppose I want to search just Yusuf Ali's translation. I can tell it to target just for there, and rather than the word guidance, let's look on this occasion, let's look for the word direction and see where that turns up in Yusuf Ali, and there is exactly the same thing there. And again, you can mix and match. You can search for English words and Arabic roots all in the same search command, and you can build really quite advanced searches. Further you can do with searches is that Quran Gateway knows about the traditional provenance of each surah of the Quran, whether a particular surah is traditionally considered to be Meccan, or whether it's traditionally considered to be Medinan. So if we wanted to find everywhere where the root word Kataba occurs, and the provenance of that surah is Meccan, we can do a search like this one. And there we are, 160 hits in 150 verses. And you can build all kinds of complexity into your searches. So let me give you another example. Let's suppose we want to look for the root Kawala. Last time we looked for it in Arabic. I'm being lazy because my keyboard is English and transliterating. And on this occasion, let me show you how you can say, well, let's just find those roots where the word form is a verb. We're not interested in nouns. I also want to find masculine examples, and I also want to find third person. So that is going to that tells Quran Gateway, Quran Tools, to simply look for places where that verb occurs, that root occurs, and it's a verb, and it's masculine, and it's third person. Let's hit search and see what happens. And wow, very, very quick there. Quran Tools has powered through that. I found me 1,113 examples where it does just that. Incidentally, you can even just look for particular types of grammatical feature without any root attached. What do I mean? Well, let's suppose you want to find every feminine verb in the Quran. For some reason, if you want to run that particular search, we simply do verb feminine, and 1,235 hits have turned up. Now, as I say, there's a huge amount you can do on searching, and again, encourage you, if you go to the Help Getting Started page, and particularly, as I say, if you go to Advanced Quran Searching, there is quite a lot of detail here on all the different types of searches and lots of different examples. We've given you example after example, so you can see what's going on, modify it for yourself. But one thing that's really worth mentioning, you can limit where that search happens. So let's suppose, for example, we wanted to find where our old friend, the root Katapa, occurs. But let's suppose we wanted to find it just in Surah 2. So we use the range command, and that tells Quran Tools to limit its search just to that range of Surah 2 in this case. And lo and behold, there we go, 48 hits in 34 verses, just the occurrences in Surah 2 of that particular word. And interestingly, you can also limit things by bookmark, which is quite fun. So if I look at my bookmark list here, and here is my new bookmark, which, if you remember, was Surah 3, verse 1 through 40. We can say, let's find root Kataba range, and we'll go my new bookmark, and that will tell us whether there are any occurrences in those three. There we are, look at that. We found 7 examples in those 5 verses. So Quran Tools has searched literally within that bookmark. So really powerful ways you can combine different searches and different ways of restricting what you're doing, so you can find exactly what you're looking for there in the text. Now, Interestingly, once you've got some text in the verse browser here, you may also have seen the chart hits button. If you're wondering what that does, well, this is quite fun. You can actually graph your search results. So if I click that button, what you'll see is Qur'an Tools there drawing me a chart of the number of hits per surah for the search root Kataba. And what you can do is you can actually drill right down into those results. I suppose I'm looking over here and going, okay, what's going on here in Surah 57? There's 6 examples there. Well, if I click with my mouse, I can drill right down, and I'm now looking at just at the search results there in Surah 57. And of course, this being a web-based application, I want to get back up to the chart. I just hit the back button on my browser, and I'm back there on the chart. And interestingly, the other thing you can do instantly is here we have the research results for Qur'an on the screen. Over here on this side of the toolbar, we find the little Analyze button. If I click Analyze, I can do all kinds of things here. I can, if I count or chart my search hits, we can see how many hits there are per different surah, which is quite interesting to see what's going on. We can also, under the Analyze button, you can analyze the words in these verses. So that will take the search results, the verses that we found, those 279 verses, and it'll give me a total breakdown of the different words within there. I can see that Kataba is the most common one, followed by Allah and Kala and so on and so forth. And if you want to, you can display the results as a pie chart. We can only actually show the first 50 examples of the 529 that we found, but again, you can begin to see the way you can really explore the vocabulary of your search results this way. So, what else can we do over here? Well, let's talk about charting in a bit more detail. So, you've seen how we can chart our search results. Well, there's actually a chart menu up on the menu bar here in Qur'an Tools, and we've got all kinds of charts built in here that you can explore. Let me give you just one example that's quite fun. Is if we take the surah verse and word lengths, if you want to look at the number of verses, a number of words in each surah there in the Quran, you can do that very easily, and you can sort by length as well, so you can sort of see how things pan out. So this is quite fun. You can again drill down. So if we take a look here at this is Surah 26 at 227 words, I can drill into this by clicking, and this will now show me each verse within Surah 26 and how many words it is. And one more click will take me right actually down onto that particular verse of the surah, which can be a lot of fun. And so for seeing what's going on there. The other chart I quite like, just because it's quite fun what you can do with big data, is if we come down and look at words and grammar, we can look at grammatical features by surah, and what that will let you do is you can say, for example, show me right now how many percentage of words whose gender is masculine. We could equally look at how many third person forms we have across the Quran. And again, drilling down is fascinating. So you say, oh gosh, there's quite a lot here in Surah 70. Let's pull those up. And there we are. There are all the third person words there in Surah 70. So trust me, you can spend hours actually clicking around, exploring patterns and seeing what's going on. And trust me, if you're a linguist, this can be a huge amount of fun. And one of the places where we bring a lot of this information together actually is if you go to the Browse menu on the Qur'an Tools menu bar and you browse the Serialist up here. What you'll find up there is every surah in the Quran. You see its Arabic name, its English name, its provenance, number of verses, number of words, and so on and so forth. And you can get to lots of charts directly off this view. And this is a good opportunity to show you where a little chart icon appears in icon form. You can often get a quick version of the chart just by pointing. Let me show you what I mean. Take Surah 2 here. If I come across the 6,116 words there in Surah 2, all I have to do is point my mouse at that little picture of a chart, and I get a beautiful little pop-up chart, so I can see what it's going to look like. And if I really like the look of that, want to see it in a bit more detail, I click the expand button there, and there's the full-size chart. So generally, wherever you see one of those little chart icons within Qur'an Tools, just point at it, and often something will happen. You'll see something fun. Also under the Browse menu, you may have noticed as we whizzed past there before, we've got the Dictionary tool. This is one thing I love to show people because this is going to be a huge time saver. I remember when I was doing my PhD on Quranic Arabic, spending a huge amount of time, particularly with Lane's Arabic Concordance and Arabic Dictionary and Lexicon. Massive great resource. that you often spend huge amounts of time leafing through, looking for the word you're interested in, and it can, the amount of time I spent just looking things up was terrific. But the dictionary tool, you can find, you can dive into dictionaries and lexica really quickly. Let me show you how that works. You can start, for example, by searching for any root. So let's go for baraka and search for that, and there we go, we found that. Now, first thing you see a sort of summary dictionary definition. We pulled together and sort of summarized quite several classical lexica in there. We're using the Project Root List website, who've put their data into the public domain, and we've taken their data and crunched it slightly. So that gives you a good overview of what's going on. But of course, you may want more and a bit more authoritative detail than that. Well, over on this other lexica column, we've got 3 dictionaries right now, included with Qur'an Tools, because Qur'an Tools is free. That means we're having to limit ourselves to resources that we can then include free, but there are some quite good ones. The first one over here is Lane's classic lexicon of Arabic English lexicon, and you just click on that, and there we are. Look, beautiful PDF scan, high resolution of that particular page, and we can scroll down and we can read. And if we want to page through, we just click the page tools here, and we can leaf our way through. So rather than having to dig around in Lane, try and find the page you want amidst the thousands of pages, Qur'an Tools lands you straight there. We've also got another old resource, but actually really useful, John Penriss's Dictionary and Glossary of the Qur'an, and again, same thing, just click and have a look. And lastly, we have the third resource there that can be helpful in some cases, Arthur Jeffrey's classic Foreign Vocabulary of the Qur'an. And all of those resources available there just at a mouse click straight out of the dictionary tool. But of course, we search for Arabic root. It may be that you're interested in a particular idea or a concept. Suppose it's getting late into the evening here as I'm recording this video for you. My tummy's rumbling a bit, so I'm beginning to think about food. So what words in the Quran have to do with food? Well, I'll just search the English word food, and you can see it's pulled up all the definitions. And let's suppose baraka was obviously one of them, but particularly I'm interested here in akala. Well, let's take a look. There are 109 occurrences in the Quran. So if I just click through, I can pull those up and I can have a look at each of them. The other thing I can do, by the way, out of the dictionary tool is you'll see there's a little graph icon, and again, if we just point to it, we get the little overview of where those roots occur in the Quran. But this is quite fun. This little icon here that my mouse is currently pointing at, that allows me to list all occurrences of that root. So I just click through, and you'll see, look, there we go. That gives me a quick overview like this, and I can sort of scroll down and see what's going on. And interestingly, you want the full verse, by the way, including an English translation. All you have to do is point your mouse at the reference here, and you can see there's a little pop-up verse viewer there. So I can just work my way through and look at each verse and kind of see what's going on. I can do that all straight there out of the dictionary tool. And the last thing I found really helpful out of the dictionary tool is you can link across to the word associations tool, which is this little network icon here. What does that do? Well, the word associations tool shows which words are often used alongside this one. So what other words are often used in this case with baraka? Well, I click the little network icon like this, and it will tell me, here we go, Allah 16 times, Bayatar 12 times, all the words that occur in the verse alongside baraka. So you can begin to see which Quranic words, which Arabic words associate with which other ones. And again, if you want to see the detail of what's going on, you just click one of these numbers, and here are the occurrences, every verse where Allah and baraka occur there in the same verse. And yeah, another really interesting way of exploring what's going on here with Quranic language. But there's one other thing, well, a couple of other things, but the next thing I want to talk about that you can do with Quran Gateway concerns formulaic language. When I did my own PhD, it was looking at the way that the Quran uses these repeated sort of formulaic phrases that occur time and time again. You don't need to spend much time with the Quran before you notice this. And in my PhD work and the subsequent academic book that came out of that, I argue that the high level of formulaic language in the Quran is one indicator that we're probably dealing with a text that was composed live in performance. Now, how might you explore the Quran's use of formulae? This is becoming an increasingly important area of study, and we built the ability to do this into Quran Tools. Let me show you how that works. If we pull up our Surah 2 in the verse browser here, and up here on the menu bar, you'll see the formulae button. If we click that, we get some things we can play with here. We can tell Quran Gateway, Quran Tools, show me formula that are, in this case, 3 Arabic roots long, and you can change the kind of length, and you can change the type of formula you're looking for. But right now, let's just go for formula that are 3 Arabic roots long. Let's click OK, and what Qur'an Tools will do is go and highlight all of the ones that occur in this surah in blue, and these are places where you have 3 Arabic roots that occur here in Surah 2, but also where that same set of 3 is found at least in one other place in the Quran. And Qur'an Tools here telling you that the formulaic density, that's the percentage of the text that's coloured blue here, is 51.75%. So that's quite high, obviously. Generally in oral formulaic studies, once a text gets over about 20%, we begin to increasingly suspect we're dealing with something constructed live in performance. Well, Surah 2 here is almost 52%, and then there are similar figures for other passages here in the Quran. Now, the other thing you can do, if you want to explore formulae a bit more, click the formula button, you can do a list and cross-reference. What are these formulae? What is going on? Well, I click the list and cross-reference button. This will show me for every verse in what I'm looking up, in this case Surah 2, you can see it's given me the formula, it's given me a rough gloss of what that formula is saying, and it's shown me where else it appears. So this first one here appears in Surah 35, verse 18, and all I have to do is point to that, and I can quickly pull up the other example and study it, and so on and so forth. So I can really easily see what's going on here. If I want to see all the formulae in the Quran, we've got a formulae menu, and I can click List All Formulae, and it will show me every formula that occurs in the entire Quran. And if I sort that by descending order of occurrences, you can see that 61 times that most popular formula in the Quran occurs. The reference to believing and doing good works, 61 times. Allah forgiving and merciful, 47 times. You'll recognise, some of these phrases are kind of stock Quranic phrases, and just really gives you an insight into how formulaic the Quran is overall. And in fact, if you want to see how formulaic it is overall, you click the formulaic density summary table, and it will show you for every all surahs, Meccan surahs, Medinan surahs, and then for each formula type we know about root formulae, root plus particle and pronoun formula. That's where the formula has a little holding space for a particle or pronoun, and then formulae is based on lemma rather than on roots. And again, you just get a sense that we're dealing with a text that is saturated in formulaic language, and we've built charts in to let you explore this too. So if you want to see, for example, how densely formulaic is each particular surah, you can chart this. Here we're showing you formulas that have length 3 roots, and you can see lots of I talked about 20% being the threshold for at which point in oral traditional studies we generally begin to realize a text has been constructed live in performance. Many surahs of the Quran well above that, and so on and so forth. And by the way, incidentally, we've also built formulaic information to the search language. What I'm about to type is quite complicated, so remember, go to the help menu, look at advanced searching. But I can tell Qur'an Tools, find me every verse in the Quran with a formulaic density of at least more than 50%, like this, for example, and it will bring every verse up. Or I can even be more specific than that and say, find me every verse with more than 50% formulaic density, where we're talking about a surah of length 4 and a formula and a formula type of root, and there we go. It will show me what exactly is going on here. So all kinds of ways you can explore the Quran and the formulaic language. And again, really can't encourage you enough to look at the help menu, go to the help index, and you'll see anything to do with formulae. There are formula charts, formulaic densities, and so on and so forth. That's a very helpful article here we've written in the help materials that come with Qur'an Tools, all about formulaic analysis. What is a formula? How does it work? Why it's important? And so on and so forth. Well, look, I've covered a lot in the last short while because there is a lot built into Qur'an Tools. I hope you've begun to get a flavour of what it can do. I hope you can understand why now hundreds of scholars and students are, really beginning to use this to help them in their studies, dig, and do sort of really good critical work on the text of the Quran. But there's one of the last things we added into Qur'an Tools before we made the decision to turn it into an open source resource and a gift to the academic and wider community. Let's just pull up for a minute Surah 5, verse 110, which is one of the verses in the Quran that talks about Jesus. Now, as well as the Quran being very formulaic, one of the other things of which scholars have been long aware is there are connections between the Quran and previous texts, the Bible and other traditions. We'd often in academic settings sort of talk about intertextual connections. And there's a big debate in academia and in Quran studies as to the nature of those relationships. In the Quran Tools software, we make no decisions. We don't come down on any side of any of those debates, but we have tried to make the data available so it can be easily studied. And there are something like 25% of the verses of the Quran have some kind of connection to previous texts and traditions. And Surah 5, verse 110 is one example. One of these verses talks about Jesus. And the way you can do that is where there are verses that have some of these intertextual connections. If you point your mouse at the verse reference here, and you will see there's a little chain icon, link icon. If you click on that, what will happen is Quran Tools will show you the intertextual connections it knows about to Surah 510. You can see there's a connection to the infancy gospel of Thomas, mid to late 2nd century AD. There's a connection to the Arabic infancy gospel and to the gospel of pseudo Matthew. And in each case, what we've enabled you to do is you can either view the passage, so the infancy gospel of Thomas, we can click view passage, and that's the passage in the infancy gospel of Thomas that also tells the story of Jesus animating the clay birds, that story that turns up on the pages of the Quran. And if you want to, you can also click view entire source, and that will take you out of Quran Tools into the internet, where we've made links to places where you can read the entire of the infancy gospel of Thomas, that kind of thing particularly interests you. Now, if you want to explore some of these intertextual connections in more detail, under the Browse menu, you'll see intertextuality, intertextual connections, and you can see all the various links. We can see each document and the references and the Quran passages that refer to it, and you can go have some fun. And again, we built this into the search language, so if you want to find anywhere in the Quran where there is at least one intertextual connection to something, we just do intertext is greater than 0, and we search like this. Voila! And you can see here there are 497 verses with some kind of connection. Well, there you are. There is a bit of an overview of just some of the things that Quran Tools can do. Hope you found it helpful. And again, just repeat, I've repeated it a few times throughout this video, do use the help menu, have a read, find out what's going on, and the more you use it, the more you play around. You can't damage anything. The worst you'll do is run a search that produces no results. What I hope it will do is just really help you take whether you're studying the Quran academically or as an area of interest, it will make it much, much easier to ask the kind of questions that we haven't really been easily able to ask before of this fascinating text from antiquity. So, hope that you enjoy Quran Tools.